Alright, so now that we have this meta tag for the viewport in our HTML, I'm going to come over here to my styles.css and I want to add some styles for mobile devices. But then how do I do that if I only want these styles to work for mobile devices? Where I have all of these styles that are already here, I need to write some styles that are going to overwrite some of those styles. So to do that, we use the media query. And a media query is like at media, and then we want to tell it what we want to select, what media type. And you have media all, print, screen, speech. But for this video, we only want to work with a screen size. So here, I'm going to put in only screen and width, no, max width. Of some size that I want to write these styles for. So now going back to here where we have our responsive design set up, we can see as we shrink this, when that text starts to overlap, that's right around, we'll say 1170 pixels. So max width 1170 px. And then we're going to use these curly brackets to enclose all of these styles that we want to happen for this specific case. So here, just to check this out, make sure that this is working, I'm going to do, oh, we're not ready for background color, body, and then that same structure that we've been using for our styles with the selector, and then our property and value. So background dash color, colon, we'll say green, just to make sure that we have this media query doing what we expect it to do. So here, I'm going to make sure this is above that 1170, refresh my page. And now when I shrink this down, we can see these numbers up here at the top. Once they get down to 1170, we should see a change in this background color. Now here I'm at 1172. We still have the white background. When I get down here to 1170, it goes to that green background. So I can see that is happening how I thought it was going to happen. So now that I know that, I'm going to remove this because I don't want that background color to go green. I just wanted to test that out to see if that works. So then what you need to do is look at these things and see what you need to happen. What do I want to do to fix this problem of the text going over the image? Maybe once it gets down to a certain point, I don't need this image in here. Maybe I should instead change the size of the image, but for now we're going to just get rid of the image once we get down to this 1170. So doing that, inside of these curly brackets, I'm going to go body, header, image, and style that to make it not display, so display none when the screen gets down to that size, and then we'll see how that affects, our page. So when I refresh this, I can still see this image, but once I get down to a certain point, I can see that image went away. But now I'm having some issues with this header because that image was part of what made that header as tall as it was. And when I go even further down, I can see I can't even see that entire header. So there's some other things that I need to take a look at. And then I can add these other styles in here. And this body, header, H1. and change some of the rules that we have for that. Want to set the position to whatever that initial position should have been. Top initial, left initial. And adding in some of these other styles so that we can make sure that it's doing what we need it to do at this point. We're not going to go super deep into what is happening here, other than I am overwriting some of the styles that I have above. So body header H1, we can scroll up in the CSS to see where that might be happening. So this body header H1, I have a margin set. See what else do we got? Body header H1, the span inside of there, we may have to do something with that on those pages. This body header H1 tag, we're doing a little bit of rewriting on that. So in the media query, we're setting the position back to its initial position instead of absolute, as well as the top and left instead of this 50%, 50%. We're also doing some transform and font size. So down here in this media query, we're not changing those things because we don't need to at this point. But we are making some of these changes, and these are overwriting those other styles that we had. So if we come back here to the page after saving that CSS, refresh it. Now when I get this down below that 1170, okay, I can see the header's still, or it's a little wider, but now my text is in a weird spot. I have something else going on, not sure what's happening. So then I need to add some more styles to make sure that that's going to work. So then, excuse me, here I've already done up these styles, so I know what I need to add. So here the div.container, and we can see this div with the class container doing some things. Setting the width, the margin, the padding. Before I save this, we can see when we shrink this down, we still have a lot of white space on the sides. Maybe we don't want that. And then this div.code, I don't have that on this page. It's on one of my other pages. So here, this gray block here is that div with the class of code. So we can keep this page pulled up because we're still getting this header, and we can see the change there. So now when I save this and I refresh my page, again, when it's this size, I don't see any changes because I'm only working inside of that media query right now. But when I shrink this down, I'm getting some changes happening, and I still have this in a weird spot. It's not working the way that it should be working. So I need to take a look at this and see what's going on. But we can see that these changes are happening only when we're making those specific changes to our document. All right. So what we have with this not being in the correct spot, when I was in the CSS and looking at this, when we looked at the body header H1, we have this transform rule up here where we're changing something. So what I need to do that I didn't do before is here in the body header H1 for this media query for these mobile devices, is I need to set that transform back to its initial value as well, because that transform is moving where that is. So now when I refresh this, we have that in a better location. It's more in the middle. And when we get bigger, we can see we still have these other things, but we're not taking up as much space on these smaller screens. I can go to one of these other pages, and we can see if this span element here is causing any problems, but it's working well. That span is inside of that H1, so that works to handle what's going on there. So now here, going back to this main index.html, these changes work. They do what I'm wanting them to do for now. And then we'll take a look at some of these other things happening in a future video. But for now, we're going to go into our command line where we have this this directory, this working directory, the repository. I already have that. If you don't, you can use the cd command and put in the path to that directory. But now I can use the git status. See, yes, there are changes. Git add star git commit -m. Oh, forgot my quotes. Adding media queries. Commit that, and then go ahead and push. That way it makes sure that my files on my remote repository are up to date with these current files. In the future, I will just be doing this. It'll be expected versus going through that in every one of these videos.